Welcome back, everybody, to Buzz Breakdown Dragon Ball Edition. I'm your host, Robert Price.
And I'm Samantha Peterson, your Dragon Ball guru.
It's been a minute since our last deep dive, so we wanted to start by thanking all of you for, sticking with us through the holidays.
Yeah, thanks for your patience, everyone.
We're so excited to jump back into the world of Dragon Ball, and for today's deep dive, we're tackling a question that might surprise you. How did Vegeta,
The Saiyan Prince.
the Saiyan Prince himself, become such a legendary fan favorite? We've got some really interesting articles and even a video essay to dig into.
This should be fun.
I think so too.
Okay,
All right, so let's get started.
let's do it.
You're the expert here, so help me out. When Vegeta first blasts onto the scene, did anyone, even Toriyama himself, think he'd be this popular?
Well, it's funny, when you look back at how Vegeta was introduced, he was this pretty straightforward villain.
Right, like he was just bad.
Yeah, just a powerful bad guy meant to challenge Goku,
Right, but ultimately he was supposed to be disposable.
Right, exactly. The plan was to have him defeated and then move on to the next big bad.
But then things took a turn.
Yeah, they did. The fans went absolutely crazy for Vegeta.
I mean, I get it. He's got that no-nonsense attitude, that brutal honesty, and that just Shakespearean level of pride.
Oh, yeah. Even when he was doing awful things, you couldn't help but kind of be drawn to him.
It's true.
And, Toriyama saw that, too. He actually said in an interview that when he first appeared, he was just a bad guy, but because he became very popular, he stayed in the series from that point on.
He kept him around because the fans loved him.
Exactly. It's a direct quote, too. Imagine a Dragon Ball saga without Vegeta. I mean,
It's mind-blowing.
it really is.
What do you think it was about Vegeta that resonated with people so much? I mean, he's pretty ruthless, especially in the beginning.
Well, I think you have to consider his backstory, right? This is a proud Saiyan prince. His entire planet destroyed his people, enslaved by Frieza.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, he was carrying this immense weight of his lost heritage, trying to find his place in a universe that had completely changed.
So it's not just like he's evil, he's driven by these really powerful emotions.
Exactly. He was a complex character right from the start, and people connected with that.
You could almost empathize with him.
Exactly. And as the series progresses, you see that complexity really play out. His rivalry with Goku, it becomes less about destroying him and more about proving himself.
Like always trying to reach that next level of power.
Right. But, it's also about this internal struggle he's got going on, this battle with his own Saiyan pride and his desire to become something more than just a destroyer.
It's like his growth isn't just about physical strength, it's about emotional strength and even moral strength.
Absolutely. He's constantly challenging himself, pushing past his limits. And that resonates with people on a deep level.
Yeah.
We all face those internal battles, those moments where we have to decide who we want to be.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And it's that journey, that transformation from a cold-hearted warrior to someone capable of love and loyalty and even sacrifice.
Right.
That's what really cemented his place in the hearts of fans.
I think so.
So we've got this incredibly popular character who was never supposed to stick around, and now he's central to the Dragon Ball universe.
Yeah.
Did his presence actually change the direction of the story?
I mean, he's not just a side character anymore. He's right there with Goku at every major turning point.
Right.
I think he absolutely changed the course of the narrative. I mean, without Vegeta, Dragon Ball Z would have been a very different story.
How so?
Well, he brings an entirely new dimension to the conflict. It's not just about good versus evil anymore. It's about these two sides of the same coin, constant pushing and challenging each other.
So their rivalry, it's like the engine that drives the plot forward.
Yeah, and it forces both Goku and Vegeta to evolve in ways they never could have alone.
Like they need each other to become their best selves, even though they never admit it.
Exactly. And that tension, that back and forth between them, it creates some of the most memorable moments in Dragon Ball history.
It's true. It's interesting, though, because that rivalry, it's not just about strength. It's also about their personalities, too.
Mm.
You've got Goku, this happy-go-lucky fighter who thrives on competition. And then you've got Vegeta, brooding, intense.
Always wrestling with his own demons.
Yeah. It's like a classic dynamic, isn't it? The light and the shadow. The carefree spirit versus the tormented soul.
That's a great way to put it. And what's fascinating is that they're both incredibly powerful Saiyans, but they approach life training and even combat in completely different ways.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, Goku is all instinct and natural talent, while Vegeta is driven by discipline strategy and an almost obsessive need to control every aspect of his power.
So it's like Goku's fighting for the love of the game while Vegeta's fighting to prove something.
To himself and to the world.
Exactly. And their differences are what make their rivalry so compelling.
I agree. And ultimately, they both learn from each other. Goku's unwavering optimism, it rubs off on Vegeta and helps him find a measure of peace.
That makes sense. And Vegeta's strategic mind and his willingness to push boundaries force Goku to think outside the box and find new ways to improve.
Right. It's a true partnership, even if it's disguised as this bitter rivalry. But, the real turning point for Vegeta, the moment where he truly starts to shift from villain to something more, is when he develops feelings for Bulma and becomes a father to Trunks.
That's when we see his humanity really shine through.
I agree.
So we left off talking about Vegeta starting to develop feelings for Bulma and then becoming a father to Trunks.
Right.
And this is where, like, everything changes for him. I mean, we see a whole new side of Vegeta emerge.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because, like, Saiyans are raised to be warriors, conquerors. They're all about strength and power above all else.
Right. Emotions are seen as a weakness, something to be suppressed.
Yeah. So Vegeta's whole life has been about, proving his strength, surpassing Goku, reclaiming his lost Saiyan glory, and then Bulma comes along.
Yeah, she totally shakes things up.
I mean, she's strong, independent, brilliant, and she's not afraid to challenge him.
Right. And she completely disrupts his whole worldview.
I mean, suddenly he's faced with this powerful woman who's not intimidated by him at all. She sees right through his tough exterior and, recognizes that wounded soul beneath.
And she's not one to back down from a challenge either.
No, she is not.
And then they have Trunks, and, well, that changes everything.
Yeah, it's a game changer for sure.
I mean, becoming a father awakens something really profound in Vegeta.
You can see it.
Yeah, he's fiercely protective of Trunks, and we see that paternal instinct clash with his Saiyan upbringing.
That's gotta be tough.
It is. He wants to raise Trunks to be a strong Saiyan warrior, but at the same time, he wants to protect him from, the harsh realities of that life.
It's like he's wrestling with his own legacy.
Right, trying to decide what kind of future he wants for his son.
And that struggle, it humanizes him in a way we haven't seen before.
Definitely. He's not just this prideful warrior anymore. He's a father grappling with all these complex emotions.
And those emotions, they make him vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
which is something he's always fought against.
Yeah, but it's also what makes him relatable. I mean, we've all experienced that fierce protectiveness that comes with parenthood.
Yeah.
That willingness to sacrifice everything for our children.
And Vegeta, despite his pride and his Saiyan instincts, he eventually embraces that vulnerability.
And it's in those quiet moments, those little glimpses of him interacting with Trunks and Bulma,
Yeah.
that we see the true depth of his transformation.
You know what? I think you're right. It's not always about these grand gestures or epic battles.
Right.
Sometimes the most profound character development happens in those subtle everyday interactions.
Exactly. And those interactions force Vegeta to confront his own past, his own regrets.
He starts to realize that his pursuit of power, his obsession with surpassing Goku, has left him isolated and unfulfilled. And he sees the happiness that Goku has found with his family.
Yeah.
And for maybe the first time, he starts to question if his path has been the right one.
That's a huge realization for him. It challenges his core beliefs and forces him to consider a different way of being.
And it's in those moments of introspection, those cracks in his armor,
Right.
that we start to see the hero emerge.
I agree, and I think that turning point really comes during the Cell games.
Oh, yeah, when he loses after Cell hurts Trunks.
Exactly, that raw, unbridled fury. It's not just about Saiyan pride anymore. It's the protective instinct of a father who would do anything to defend his child.
That scene always gives me chills. It's like all of his suppressed emotions, all of his love for Trunks just come pouring out.
And it's a turning point for the audience, too. I mean, we see that Vegeta is capable of love, of compassion, of putting something other than his own ambitions first.
For sure. And from that point on, his journey becomes less about conquest and more about redemption.
Right, he's still driven to become stronger, but his motivations have shifted. He's fighting to protect his family, to atone for his past sins, to prove that he's worthy of their love and respect.
It's a redemption arc that really resonates with audiences.
Yeah, because it speaks to our own desire to be better, to overcome our flaws and become the people we know we can be.
Absolutely. We see this flawed, arrogant prince evolve into this complex, multi-layered character who's capable of great love and sacrifice and even humility.
And it's that transformation, that journey from darkness to light, that makes Vegeta such a compelling and enduring character.
It's pretty amazing how Toriyama was able to take a character who was initially designed as this one-dimensional villain
Right.
and turn him into this incredibly nuanced and relatable hero.
It speaks to the power of character development and also the importance of listening to your audience.
Right.
Toriyama could have easily killed off Vegeta as he'd originally planned.
Right.
But he saw the potential in the character, the way the fans connected with him, and he allowed Vegeta to evolve.
To become something far greater than what he was initially conceived to be.
Exactly.
And that's what makes Vegeta's story so inspiring.
I agree. It reminds us that we're all capable of change, of growth, of shedding our past selves and becoming the people we were always meant to be.
We've talked about Vegeta's transformation from, villain to anti-hero and from this solitary warrior to a family man.
Right.
But I think what really makes him a fan favorite is that he never loses that edge.
Totally.
That fiery Saiyan spirit
Yeah.
that we all fell in love with in the first place.
He never gets complacent. Even as he softens around the edges, he's still pushing himself, always training, striving to reach new heights of power.
Right.
And that that unwavering determination, that's what keeps him so compelling.
It's like he's found a way to channel those Saiyan instincts into something more productive.
Yeah, more meaningful. He's not just fighting for himself anymore. He's fighting for his family, his friends, for Earth itself.
And he's not afraid to acknowledge his weaknesses.
His past mistake.
Yeah. That self-awareness, that willingness to confront his flaws, it makes him even more relatable.
I think so, too. We all have regrets, right, that we wish we could change.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it's how we learn from those mistakes, how we strive to become better that defines us.
And Vegeta really embodies that struggle.
He does. He never tries to excuse his past actions, but he uses them as fuel, as motivation to prove that he's capable of change.
Of redemption.
Exactly.
One of the things that I think is so fascinating about Vegeta is that he never fully embraces that traditional hero role.
It's true. He's not always selfless, he's not always noble, but he's always true to himself.
He never compromises who he is, even as he's evolving.
Right. There's still that pride, that stubbornness, that unwillingness to back down from a challenge. But it's tempered now by a sense of responsibility.
And a deep loyalty to the people he cares about.
Exactly. He's a complex character, and that's what makes him so interesting. He challenges our expectations of what a hero should be, and he reminds us that there's no one right path to redemption.
Yeah. And, his relationship with Goku, it continues to be such a driving force in his evolution.
Oh, absolutely.
They're rivals, yes.
For sure.
But they've also developed this, grudging respect for each other.
Right, a bond that goes beyond their differences.
They push each other to be better, to reach new heights of power and understanding.
And even though they'd never admit it, they need each other.
It's true. They represent these two sides of the Saiyan spirit,
The raw power and the unwavering determination.
And it's through their interactions, their clashes, their collaborations, that we see the full potential of what a Saiyan can become.
I agree. Vegeta's journey is a testament to the idea that even the most hardened individuals can change.
That even the most prideful hearts can learn humility and compassion.
Right, and it's that transformation that makes him such an enduring and beloved character.
So I guess what's the ultimate takeaway from our deep dive into Vegeta?
I think it's a reminder that we all have the capacity for growth, for change. We all make mistakes, we all have regrets, but it's how we learn from those experiences, how we strive to become better that matters. And just like Vegeta, we can choose to embrace those challenges, to turn our weaknesses into strengths, and to ultimately find redemption in the face of adversity.
Well said. So as we wrap up this episode of Buzz Breakdown, Dragon Ball Edition, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Vegeta. We hope you've gained a new appreciation for the Saiyan Prince and his incredible journey. Remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and share this episode with your fellow Dragon Ball fans. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the worlds that inspire us.